When we talk about sound marketing, and we're talking about using audio in your brand strategy, it's really important to understand that audio can really help you a lot. Audio can boost your brand strategy like crazy. So in today's conversation, I want to share with you a few hacks that we have actually learned from our research into this topic for the last 20 years to help you understand how audio can boost your brand strategy. Let me give you the overview you need to really have here. So audio marketing plays a powerful role to boost your brand and business strategy. Okay. And it's really important to understand that in the last 20 years, in the last 10 to 20 years, the demand for audio content and experiences has continuously been increasing. As such, audio marketing is gaining more prominence among brands and marketers. It doesn't really matter whether you are a small business or you are a mid-size business or you are a marketer. You can actually use audio marketing, audio or sound marketing. If you use it the right way, you are able to actually boost your brand not only in terms of your online visibility, but also your offline exposure. This is really important. By the way, welcome back to the show. It's really wonderful to have you here. We like to talk about sound marketing on this show and on this channel. It's really important to understand that when we talk about sound marketing, we're speaking about a constellation of devices here, not just sound marketing on your computer, but also sound marketing in terms of your tablet, your phablet, your smartphones, okay, your desktop and your laptop and whatnot. So why is audio marketing important? So according to a 2019 report by KPMG, we have McKinsey, you also have eMarketer. They have found that more than three-quarters of internet users already listen to digital audio. Okay, digital audio can be, for example, a podcast. It could be an ad. It could be any content. It could be a video in the form of audio. It can be MP3 file formats. So it's really important to understand that you have the demand there. Okay, and it's really important to sync your brand to the growing demand for digital content, for audio content. And when we talk about podcasts, nowadays podcast is not just in terms of it doesn't just happen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You also have YouTube that's actually entering the game, which is really great because then you have a bigger platform, a larger platform when it comes to content marketing. Also joining the game, you have Facebook doing something in that regard also. So this is really great. So what I'm trying to say here is that the trends are good. The trends are conducive or favorable for audio marketing to go even up, more up in the future. Now, the first thing I want you to hear the steps. If you want to boost your brand strategy using audio, here are the steps I really want you to pay attention to. Number one, I want you to repurpose your blogs into audio. See, the simplest way to create audio content is to repurpose or convert your existing blog post, okay? Because you already have it anyway, okay? So you don't have to actually you don't have to reinvent the wheel, really, okay? So just have software. I mean, there are a lot of ways to do this. One way is to convert your blog post into podcasts of varying lengths by adding an introduction, quotes, and sound effects. And NPR does it really well. National Public Radio, they often do it with some of their news stories. Another way to repurpose your blogs into audio is just to read the text as it is, making it like an audiobook. Okay, so for example, we have the Atlantic. They do it pretty well also. And by the way, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are talking about how to use audio to boost your brand strategy. Okay, now let me dig a little deeper here. So the thing here is that there are several ways you can use audio marketing to boost your brand. However, you first need to identify your marketing goals and brand voice. This is really important, and your brand voice has to deal with your target audience as well as your own company's mission, right? Because the thing is, if you're talking to 15 to 18-year-olds on TikTok versus 35 to 40-year-olds on let's say on YouTube, your brand voice will be different. Okay, it's also necessary to identify what type of audio content your target audiences consumes. Okay, your target audience consume and what devices they actually use on a regular basis. So, and this will actually vary. If you have a diverse audience, this could be problematic. But if you have a pretty unified audience, then it's fairly easier. I mean, relatively easier, because what you want to do here is you want to define your ideal persona. Okay, your ideal listener. And then what you want to do is you want to model that the listener into all the content you produce. You want to factor this persona, this ideal persona into your brainstorming session. So everything starts from the very first keyword you choose, even before writing the blog article, and even thinking about converting this blog article into audio form. Okay, it's really important. You need to also ask yourself, are your listeners avid listeners of podcasts, or do they use smart home technology? So make sure that you have considered these aspects before choosing an audio format to go with your brain strategy. This is really important. So first thing you want to repurpose your blogs into audio. Second thing you need to do here is to create your own branded podcast. This is so important. See, the whole thing, when we talk about audio marketing, you need to understand that podcasts and webinars have been continuously garnering popularity over the last few years, okay? And the COVID-19 pandemic gave further impetus to this modes of content delivery because people were home. Think about it. People were just home like crazy. And now, they had to consume something. And this really saw the rise, the rise of podcast content during that 2-year hiatus that we had, okay? And you need to understand that, what happens here is that you have the growth, you have exponential growth from other platforms. You have the biggies of the field. We were talking about Spotify, we were speaking about Apple Podcasts, we were speaking about YouTube Podcasts, we're speaking about Google Podcasts, okay? So this is really important. So my point here is what? My point is the market is there, okay? So creating a branded podcast does need some planning and organizational skills though. You should approach creating and distributing a podcast the same way you approach blogging and social media marketing. So this is not something you can just get up in the morning, get up one morning and just do. No, it takes preparation. And with an editorial calendar, you can identify and organize the topics as well as plan the distribution of your podcast. But again, the whole thing I want to say here is that when we talk about audio marketing, when we speak about brain strategy, when we talk about podcasting strategy, it's really important to always have the customer, the end user in mind, your listener, okay? And it's not just, you're not a charity. You're not a philanthropy here. So everything should actually serve to generate revenue, to actually either generate revenue or raise awareness about your brand or actually create more leads. It's really important to have this sort of sales orientation in all the work that you're doing, okay? And never lose sight of that, because otherwise you'll be spending a lot of time and wasting your time and not really seeing revenue being generated over time. So it's really important. So when we talk about creating your own branded podcast, also think about having the team. Now you can either do it in-house, you can hire 2 or 3 or an entire team to actually take care of that, depending on the size of the operation, or you can outsource the whole operation too. So you have websites that are out there, they're really specialized in kind of freelancing, from Fiverr to TopTal to 99 Designs to freelancer.com to Upwork. You're able to find freelancers who will do the work for you. Another way if you want to use audio to boost your brand strategy, is to sponsor a podcast or become a guest speaker. This works fantastically well, okay? Because the thing here is that it really depends. It depends on your resources. It depends on the size of your team, okay? If you're a small business or you're a mid-sized business or you're a solopreneur, you're an entrepreneur trying to really get into the audio marketing bandwagon, you have to ask yourself what really works for you. So if creating a branded podcast is a challenge for you for various reasons, okay? Money, it could be money, time, or just the sheer resources in terms of editorial capabilities. If you can't really do it, you can find opportunities to become a guest speaker on another person's or a brand's podcast or vlog, okay? And by becoming a regular guest speaker on this podcast and audio shows, you can gain a loyal audience. It's all about consistency. It's all about regularity. It's all about brand leadership. It's all about, thought leadership rather, not brand leadership, but thought leadership. Okay. You can also consider sponsoring a few episodes of a podcast or an audio show. Before advertising or sponsoring a podcast, you need to keep a few things in mind. But before I actually tell you those things, please, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about how to use audio to boost your brand strategy. Okay, so let me just talk to you about the few things you need to keep in mind before advertising or sponsoring, before advertising on a podcast or sponsoring a podcast. For starters, you need to find out which podcast suits your brand. It's very important. Suitability is really important. Okay, different podcasts have a different set of audience. For example, if you have an audience that actually revolve around female population, or like really focuses on female population, you got to ask yourself if your brand sort of suits that. Or if you have a podcast that really focuses on male, like, men's problems, what kind of problems that you want to talk about. If you're selling a product or service that really fits the purpose of the podcast, this is really good. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second, you need to understand the various types of ads and the associated costs. Okay, you should always measure the ROI, as this will help you understand how your ads are performing. And if you are advertising on, let's say, multiple podcasts, you will still be able to identify which one warrants more spend and which one does not. And this is part of what we call the trial and error. So over time, what will happen here is that you'll realize that, hey, listen, this podcast, this sort of audio marketing cost doesn't suit my brand, or this one suits better. So again, it's all about ROI. It's all about return on investments. Number 4, you can create and stream live audio on social media platforms. Okay, the thing is that when we talk about audio marketing, if you want to use audio to boost your brand strategy, if you do not want to repurpose your blogs into audio, if you don't want to create your own branded podcast because it takes too much time, okay, if you don't want to sponsor a podcast or becomes a guest speaker, then you can do things yourself. If you're comfortable talking live, then hey, listen, create and stream live audio on social media platforms. The cool thing is you have a lot of platforms that offer that capability, and especially you have a YouTube and Facebook that offer prominently this capability. Okay, besides podcasts, social media platforms offer ample opportunities to create and stream live audio content. And so, like in 2016, Facebook, they actually launched their tool, Live Audio. And the cool thing is that and this came after YouTube also revamped their offer. Okay, and Facebook actually said that the platform will help publishers to tell their story only through words instead of videos. And similarly, Twitter and its Periscope platform allow you to create live audio only broadcasts. So besides Facebook and Twitter, there are several lesser known audio focused social platforms. You have Hear Me Out, you have Oddlist. Okay, but the bottom line here is what? The bottom line is you need to find a platform that works for you. You need to find a platform that works for your audience. And you need to find a platform that works for the kind of content you want to actually share on social media. So this is the trifecta I really want you to think about. It has to be suitable to you. It has to be suitable based on the content you want to share. And it has to be suitable to the target audience, to the listener. Okay, it's really important to always keep that in mind. But everything has to start from the listener, because if your content is not adequate for any way, shape, or form to the listener, they're not going to listen. He or she's not going to listen. And this is where you lose listeners. Okay. And the bottom line here is that you have to constantly analyze whether or not your content and the way you deliver it fits what the market is actually asking for. Okay. A few podcast creators have already started using social platforms to post their audio content, not just the big one, not just the YouTube of the world, not just the Facebooks of the world, not just the Twitter of the world, but also the smaller one that, as I just said, we have Oddlist, you have a Reefer. Okay, it's actually a Reefer, and you have Hear Me Out, you have Listen. So this is kind of cool. The next thing you can do here is, if you want to use audio to boost your brand strategy, is to leverage advancements in voice technology to deliver content. Okay. And the thing is, if you really think about it, we all have grown accustomed to this sounds. Hey Siri, how is the weather outside today? Or Alexa, what time is my meeting with X? Okay. These are some of the popular phrases that you may have heard in recent times, right? Content search has been increasingly moving towards voice search ever since Apple launched Siri. The trend further gained more popularity after the launch of voice assistants like Amazon Echo, Cortana, and Google Home. In fact, Amazon has been leading the growth in smart speaker ownership, with the 76 to 80 million customers having smart speakers in their homes. Okay. Then there has been a continuous influx of voice activated services and devices, including smart thermostats and smart cars. So when you really think about it, the trend here is growing. And a lot of research has been pointing to the fact that 50 to 75% of all online searches will be voice searches by 2025 or 2030. Okay, so when you really think about it, this provides enormous opportunities for marketers, for small business owners, for smart and savvy business owners to stay on top of their consumers' mind when the latter search for a related product or service. Okay, and so to take advantage of this trend, though, you need to optimize your content for voice search. Okay, so this works like optimizing your content for search engines. For example, you need to target search phrases and questions instead of keywords. You can also create audio snippets that provide a short and quick answer to the search query. So this is something we actually have an entire video that will actually talk about it. But so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one. But I want to say one thing. It's really important to understand that if you really want to be ahead of your game when it comes to voice technology, you need to have the right software. Because the thing is, the technology is still nascent. So because it is nascent, you don't have a lot of tools that actually can help. But it's important if you have the right tool. I mean, they are a little more expensive, but if you have the right tool, you can actually stay ahead of the game, and you can actually you can really instill your own brand and tone to the entire industry that you're currently in. In other words, you can really take a serious competitive edge based on that. The next thing I want you to do here is to create short and long form audiograms. Audiograms, okay? Again, we're speaking about how to use audio to boost your brand strategy. So I'm giving you audio marketing tools and tips here, okay? So if you want to actually use audio to boost your brand strategy, you need to create short and long form audiograms. So what are audiograms? So those are recorded sound bites that can help you explain or promote something. Very simple. And this could be short audio snippets or long form recordings. However, unlike advertisements, you don't need to pay for them, nor do you need to have a call to action. So the whole thing here is that these audiograms don't have a marketing purpose. They don't have a sales generating or a sales generation purpose. Okay, it's really important to ask yourself, why would you need an audiogram? What kind of info would you want to pass along through that format? Okay, and would that audiogram resonate with the format itself, not just the content, but the format of audiogram resonate with your target audience? This is an important conversation. As I said before, everything starts with the audience, with the target audience, and ends with the target audience. So you want to make sure there is synchronicity. There is actually some kind of, I would say, a parallel between the kind of format and the kind of content you are sharing, and with what the target audience is expecting. So short audiograms are essentially audio snippets that can overlay an image. So this can be posted on your website or and social networks like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. One of the best use cases for a short snippet is if you need to explain an image or an infographic. You can also make use of longer audiograms of more than 30 seconds as per your need, okay? And several brands and organizations such as the NPR, for example, okay, such as Nike, okay, they have worked with audiograms and posted them on their social media platforms. So the trend is there, the demand is there. It's all about making sure, again, there is synchronicity. Whatever you post and the format under which you post it has to resonate with your target audience. Everything starts with your target audience. I said this before, and ends with your target audience. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. In today's conversation, I was just talking to you about how to use audio to boost your brand strategy. And I explained to you what audio marketing is, why is it important. And so the steps you need to follow if you want to use audio to boost your brand strategy, You want to repurpose your blogs into audio. You want to create your own branded podcast. You want to sponsor a podcast or become a guest speaker on one. You want to create and stream live audio on social media. You want to leverage advancement in voice technology. And you want to create short and long form audiograms. Thank you so much for your attention. God bless you. I'll see you next time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.